I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's up the homies? Lay here for UFC Gambling Addicts, back again for another UFC full card breakdown and predictions video. This one's going to be Rob Font taking on Cody Garbrandt. Really good main event. We just got done with UFC 262. Crazy event. I want to speak a little bit about that in the smoke break. But as always homies, make sure you smash the like button, Hamzat style. Any style you want. I mean, you could even go Charlie Olives, comeback style, you know? Alright, let's jump into breaking down these matchups. Alright, we've got Damir Ismagulov taking on Rafael Alves, and we're going to start with Damir. So Damir is 3-0 inside the UFC, primarily a Muay Thai practitioner. He did spend some time at Tiger Muay Thai, not sure if he's still there. But you can see this man's Muay Thai ability. He's really someone that I regard as a serious prospect in the sport of MMA. Now, he isn't starching anyone. You know, he's had 3 fights in the UFC. He hasn't starched anyone. But if you look at how measured he is in his approach, his IQ, just the way he reads the opponent, it's second to none. It really is. Rafael Alves making his UFC debut. We saw this man on the Contender Series, and he kind of showcased his ability, right? The body kicks, extremely powerful. If you take this man to the mat, he is going to offer some jiu-jitsu off his back. Now, the way I see this fight playing out, I think Alves is going to try to do something no one has really done yet, and that's translate a lot of power to the body, maybe the skull of Damir Ismagulov. But I'm not too sure that's going to happen. I think Damir Ismagulov is levels above Rafael Alves. I think he basically controls this fight in a kickboxing scenario. Maybe finishes Alves late if Alves slows down. But overall, man, I just think Damir Ismagulov, this guy's a problem. So I'll take Damir Ismagulov via decision. Maybe a late stoppage. It all depends how tired Alves gets. My numbers, I'd put Damir at least a minus 300. At least. Yeah, we've got Damir Ismagulov minus 600. Which is, you know, you can speak about this man being a prospect. You can look at what he's done so far. And you can be impressed. But at minus 600, unless you're really willing to lay some chalk on it, you probably sit back and just respect how good this guy is. You know, betting wise, it's hard to bet. But if you take a decision prop, and if you can get the decision, if Alves is able to go 15 minutes, then you've made a good bet. But like I said, it all depends how tired Alves gets. If he slows down considerably in round 3, maybe it's a TKO prop that comes in. But for money line, I'm going to stay away. The pick is going to be Damir. Yancy Medeiros taking on Damir Hadzovic. Man, this was a difficult prediction to make. So let's start with Yancy. Yancy is kind of trying to look like a Diaz inside the octagon. And by that I mean he's using his length and most of his attacks are boxing, right? He's trying to box you. His striking defense is kind of similar to a Diaz too. You know, he does get hit. He's a very hittable guy. But then you look at his cardio too. You know, this guy will still be there in round 2, round 3. Really not the highest level of fighter. But like I said, it's similar to a Diaz. Some guys are going to break under that cardio. And some guys are just going to tee off, right? It's kind of difficult to predict whether or not Damir Hadzovic is going to be a guy that crumbles under the cardio and output of Yancy. Or he doesn't, you know, that's the difficult thing to predict here. I think Damir could have some good moments with takedowns, potentially land a few big punches against Yancy. But I'm going to say that he crumbles. I'm going to say in round 2 and round 3, the pressure and cardio of Yancy Medeiros is enough this time to get a win. But like I said, man, this one was a real difficult one to make a prediction on. because you don't put Yancy up there. You know, he's not a prospect. He's a guy who's just here. But Damir Hadzovic, also a guy that's just here. You know, Yancy's on a losing streak. Damir is on a losing streak. Someone's probably going to get cut if they lose this fight. My odds, I'd keep them close. I'd put Yancy -120, -130. Damir +100. And you've basically got the opposite. You've got Yancy +100, +110. Damir -120, -130. Yancy is quite a hittable guy. You know, round 1 may not look too good. But if Damir's cardio doesn't hold up, round 2 and round 3 could be quite different. And that's why the line's close. A lot of people favouring Damir, a lot of people favouring Yancy. This is a pick 'em matchup. It's going to be a good fight. Alright, we've got Josh Culibao taking on Yilan Shah. Or Shah Yilan. We're going to start with Josh. So Josh, 0 wins, 1 draw inside the UFC. If you guys can remember, he was a big underdog against Charles Jourdain. But he actually delivered. You know, he delivered in that matchup. He was even able to drop Charles Jourdain at one point. Now, if you look at how the fight played out towards the end, it didn't look too good for Josh Culibao. Charles Jourdain really coming close to getting a finish towards the end of that fight. So you can kind of see the weakness, right? Culibao doesn't have the best cardio. He does slow down as the fight goes on. Now the newcomer, Yilan, seems to be primarily a wrestler. And not a bad one too. You know, he does get the takedowns. And that's certainly what he's going to try to do in this matchup. I'm not extremely confident that Josh Culibao is going to win the fight. But I do lean more towards picking him. You know, I think his striking's better. He does have some decent jiu-jitsu. The only problem is the gas tank and not being held on the mat. The only way I see Yilan winning is literally taking advantage of the gas tank and being able to continue to hold Josh on the mat, especially round 2 and round 3. But like I said, I was impressed with Josh Culibao against Charles Jourdain. And I think this is an easier matchup for him when it comes to striking. So I'm going to favour Josh Culibao to win this matchup. My numbers, I'd put Culibao around -170, -180. And we've got Culibao over -200, actually coming in at -250. So it's fair to say a lot of people respect him for his performance against Jourdain. And they're basically expecting the same here. We expect him to be a better striker, to land damage inside these rounds. But most of us are going to be looking at the gas tank. We're going to be looking at the takedown defense and the get-up game, right? Because if you get taken down, you can't stay on the mat. You have to work back to your feet, build a base, right? So yeah, the pick's going to be Culibao. Victor Rodriguez taking on Bruno Silva. And we're going to start with Victor. So Victor, 0 wins, 1 loss inside the UFC. He debuted against Adrian Yanez. You don't really want to debut against a boxer like that, you know. Bit of a mismatch, and it kind of showed. You know, he got head kicked. He couldn't really fight going backwards. That's something that I noticed. It's kind of funny too, because Victor Rodriguez said in the build-up to that fight, Yanez doesn't like to fight moving backwards. But when you see Victor moving backwards, it's like he was speaking about himself, you know? Bruno Silva. This guy was 0 wins, 3 losses inside the UFC until he showed up against JP Buys. Now, Bruno Silva does have big punching power, but most of the time it didn't really translate to the opponent. It did against JP. His low kick is pretty damaging. You see that against Ulanbekov. But most of the time, this guy seems to be outclassed. This time, I think Bruno Silva has a really good matchup. He's coming off a win to JP, where the power, like I said, did translate. I think it translates again in this matchup. Whether it's grappling or kickboxing, I think Bruno Silva's just going to be at a higher level than Victor Rodriguez. I think the punches are going to take more of an effect. The low kicks are going to be effective. And if they're clinching up against the fence, I think Bruno Silva's kind of proven he can grapple. You see that against Ulanbekov. You know, he grappled pretty okay in that matchup. So yeah, I'm favouring the Brazilian. I'm going to take Bruno Silva via TKO in round number 2. My numbers, I'm putting Bruno Silva minus 200, just over minus 200. And we've got Bruno Silva coming in minus 350, minus 340. So a lot of respect. You know, it kind of feels like the public are fading Victor Rodriguez. But when you look at what Bruno Silva did in his last fight, kind of feel like it's going to happen again. You know, this time it's going to translate. There's going to be a lot of opponents where Bruno Silva is throwing hooks, he's throwing overhands, and it's not connecting. But this feels like an opponent where it will connect. So yeah, the odds, I can't really argue. It seems like a good matchup for Bruno Silva. Alright, we've got Claudio Silva taking on Court Mcgee, and we're going to start with the Brazilian Claudio Silva. So for those of you that don't know, Claudio Silva is primarily a BJJ practitioner. This guy is looking to use his jiu-jitsu. He wants you on the mat, he wants to take you back. Whether it's choke you out or an armbar, he's simply looking to use his jiu-jitsu. Now he's had a couple good moments, especially against Nordine Taleb. You know, he was able to drop Nordine and submit him rather than take him down and submit him. Moments like that kind of show you this guy is working on the striking, right? But if we look at his last fight against James Krause, it wasn't close at all. You know, Claudio Silva was not close in hurting James Krause with strikes. I believe James Krause even suffered a knee injury at some point in that fight and was still able to basically look better in the kickboxing. So yeah, despite Claudio Silva having good moments where he drops Nordine, this guy will always be most dangerous when it comes to grappling. The opponent, Court Mcgee, this guy has a lot of experience inside the UFC, even holds a win over Robert Whittaker, which is pretty unbelievable. He's on a losing streak, right? He lost to Diego Lima, lost to Sean Brady, lost to Carlos Condit, even losses to Sean Strickland and Ben Saunders. The only win he has in the last 4 years comes against Alex Garcia. And Alex Garcia, primarily a grappler. This one is a difficult prediction to make because Claudio Silva seems to surprise more than not. But I'm going to side with Court Mcgee. He has one job, and that's to avoid the mat. I think the cardio and the output of Court Mcgee could be the difference in round 2 and even the last round. Claudio Silva telegraphed every strike against James Krause, and his cardio, it didn't look too great, kind of looked out of shape. So I'm going to take the veteran Court Mcgee to break his losing streak. I feel confident. I feel confident in Court here. You know, his output, he's always been a guy who has a lot of output for the 170 division. So I'll take Court Mcgee via decision. My numbers, I'd put Court around minus 140. And the actual numbers, both of these guys are minus 110. So yeah, pick 'em. A lot of people favouring the grappler. Because why wouldn't you? You know, he has surprised more than not. I went against Claudio Silva with James Krause. I'm going to do it again here. I think James showed us, look, you have to stay kickboxing with Silva. And I think Court Mcgee can. Alright guys, we've got Ben Rothwell taking on Chris Barnett. I'm not going to spend too long on this one, man. Ben Rothwell, we know this guy. He's a veteran. Could kind of say he's a legend too, I guess. It's really difficult to bet on Ben Rothwell. You know, he loves to be in close fights, and when it's not a close fight, kind of gets beat up. I picked against him with Blagoy Ivanov, and a lot of people said Ben Rothwell won that fight, but he used a lot of pressure and was kind of gun shy. You know, you could give him a round in that fight, but Blagoy Ivanov was landing and Ben Rothwell was using more pressure and wasn't really landing. Then you look at the fight against Arlovski where he looked like a punch bag. He was lucky to get a win over Stefan Struve because, in all fairness, Struve was using his kicks. He was doing well in that matchup. He has a win over OSP, who decided to move up to heavyweight and was still able to challenge Ben Rothwell. Against Marcin Tybura, same kind of thing with Arlovski. He turned into a punch bag. I feel like there's not a lot of hope and faith with Ben Rothwell. Having said that, man, if he loses this one, guys, I'm going to be amazed. Now, Chris Barnett, this guy, in my opinion, is too stationary. He's way too stationary for a guy like Ben Rothwell. As much as I don't want to pick Ben Rothwell in a fight, I just have to do it here. I have to do it, man. But of course, like I said, Ben loves to be in close fights, and if it's not close, he's getting beat up. So maybe this one just ends up being a close fight. I'm going to favour Ben Rothwell, man. My numbers, I'd put Ben around -200, despite everything that I've just said. The actual numbers, we've got Ben -300. So everyone else is expecting the same thing. We know what we get with Ben, but we really should get a win here. We really should, man. Alright, we've got Bill Algeo taking on Ricardo Ramos. This is a decent prelim headliner, and quite a difficult prediction to make too. Bill Algeo is a really good kicker, and Ricardo Ramos, quite a good kicker too. Bill Algeo is quite unorthodox, because you don't really know which kick is coming next. And Ramos is quite unorthodox too. You see that in the way he spins against Zahabi, one of the most brutal knockouts in the UFC. The kickboxing is going to be fun. It's difficult to say either guy will dominate the kickboxing, but it should be pretty fun. Now, who's the better grappler? I'd probably lean towards Ricardo Ramos, but I don't really see this fight hitting the mat. I think both of these guys are going to kickbox. And even in that kickboxing situation, like I said, who's going to be the guy dictating? Who's going to be the guy landing more damage? Because they're both unorthodox. They're both good kickers. They're not really punchers. It's always a good matchup when you can't decide confidently. Gun to my head, I'm going to pick Bill Algeo to have better moments in the kickboxing. My numbers, I'd keep him real close. I'd put Bill around -130, -140. Ramos +110. And the actual numbers, we've got Bill Algeo -110, -120. Ricardo Ramos +100. The odds are spot on. If you're betting on Ramos, you want him to kickbox a bit, but then grapple. If you're betting on Bill Algeo, you just want to see more damage with the kicks. More control in the kickboxing. It's a good one. I'm going to side with Algeo. Alright, my homies, you know what time it is. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker, but you still enjoy the smoke breaks, that's a triple amen, gang. Let's go. I hope all of you guys are doing blessed, having a great day, having a great week. You know, just having a blessed time in existence. Being the experiencer of the experience. Experiencing the experience. I hope you're having a great time doing that. Every single one of you. Now, I know that sounded pretty trippy, but there's a reason why that sounded trippy. The smoke break topic this week is a little bit trippy. Now, before we get into that, I want to speak a little bit about UFC 262. Guys, it hurts being a fight fan sometimes. It hurts, man. You know, you see Jacare. We've seen this guy lose. We've seen him lose a few times. But to see him get his arm snapped, man, it hurts, bro. Bro, it hurts. If you're somebody who picked Andre Muniz by sub, great scout. Great scout report. Really great scout report, but also a very hurtful scout report that happened. So, you know, credit to you, but at the same time, man, bro, it's cold. It's cold. It's hurtful and cold. Now, last week I spoke about not being ready to admit that Tony Ferguson is done. It's another one, man. It's another one that hurts. Tony Ferguson's done. You know, he's... Yeah, I don't even want to speak about it, man. Tony Ferguson's done. But hey, Tony Ferguson is the type of guy to be remembered for being Tony Ferguson. Alright? So, hey, he's done. But that's Tony Ferguson, you know? Yes, it's a different version of Tony Ferguson, but the legend of Tony will still live on in my memory. Now, the smoke break this week, I got sent a few smoke break topics on Instagram, so shout out to all the bros that sent those in. Yeah, for some reason this week was just send the smoke break topics week, you know, it was just, I got a few of them. But I want to address one specifically because I like this one. I like this one a lot. I like all of them, guys. I like all of them. I will get to them. But this one, it comes from David Acosta. For one of your smoke breaks, please bring up the future of medicine. Psychedelic medicine is coming back. Magic mushrooms, ayahuasca, DMT. How these chemicals can heal us, cure addictions, and many more sicknesses. The word is spreading and it's starting to be decriminalized. We are coming full circle. Amen. Now, I started the smoke break in quite a trippy way. I said, I hope you guys are having a great time being the experiencer of the experience, experiencing the experience. A lot of people struggle with their experience, right? We're all human. We're all going to have great days, we're going to have great weeks, we're going to have bad weeks, and we're going to have bad days. That's what it is to be human. But a lot of people suffer with addictions. They suffer with mental illness, man. And the fact is, psychedelics do help people. They can help people. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of people, they do cure and help you. Now, when people add me on Instagram, I'm going a little bit off topic here, Dave. I hope you don't mind. But when people add me on Instagram, I always check like the bio. I always see like people's bio. And a couple weeks ago, a bro added me, and his bio was, you see the purple lady, she's speaking about you. And straight away when I saw that bio, shout out to the bro who's got this bio, you know who you are. Straight away when I saw this bio, I was like, I know what that's from, right? That's a DMT story by Shane Mouse, I think. And it's a crazy story because when Shane has a DMT trip, he sees this purple lady. This purple lady, it's like he explains, she's known me for 1,000,000 years. She's known me for so long. And we've got this weird relationship. Now this is what's happening in Shane's world, in Shane's mind, in this dimension that he goes to when he experiences the compound DMT, dimethyltryptamine. And his friend took this compound, DMT, and also experienced the purple lady, right? Now Shane never told this guy, hey, I see a purple lady. This guy said to Shane, hey, there's a purple lady here speaking about you. Now, how would this guy have any clue that Shane knows this purple lady if Shane never told this guy, hey, there's a purple lady? So already that's like, what the hell, right? Experiencing these compounds, man, it's kind of like you get awoken, you become enlightened to things that you didn't feel was possible, you didn't know was possible. It's almost like your ego is dissolved and you don't exist anymore. You're in a different place. It's almost like experiencing death before experiencing death, you know? And for people who suffer with mental illness, for people who have depression, you know, addictions, just experiencing this kind of almost, you can't believe it, right? It helps people. It really does help people. So I thought that was a great topic, man, because, you know, someone said to me before on this channel, and I'll always go back to this quote because it's a great quote. Your vibe Your vibe attracts your tribe. And when I see that Instagram bio, when I see this smoke break topic, I just had to speak about it because so many people in this community, they're gonna be about psychedelics, you know. I can feel it already. We're a stoner-like community. We love fights. We love to smoke weed. Most of us. And as I always say, if you don't smoke and you still enjoy the smoke breaks, then that's what's up. But yeah, David Acosta, man, you bring up a great topic. I completely agree with you. You know, these medicines. You know, I see a meme on Instagram the other day, and it said, "God makes psychedelics, and humans make them illegal." And then it's just like a picture of God with his hand above his face. Like, what are they doing? You know, these compounds are here to heal us. They're here to show us things that we didn't know was there. I know a lot of you guys probably taken some mushrooms, had a great trip. It just gets you in touch with spirituality and nature. You know, it gets you in touch with, man, I'm just a ball of energy. I'm not my body. I'm not this temple. You know, I'm the energy that lives within this temple. You know, it's you start to think differently. You start to realize, man, this is showing me stuff. It's waking me up. And to be woken up is to heal. Is to cure. You know, so David Acosta, big shout out to you who brought this smoke break topic up. I completely agree with you, and I can't wait to see some of the comments about mushrooms, DMT, all of that kind of stuff, ayahuasca. I know a few people are really intelligent in this community, and they're going to shed some light on these compounds. So shout out to that smoke break topic. Alright homies, let's get into breaking down the rest of this card. Jack Hermansson taking on Edmen Shahbazyan. In my opinion, this fight is the most difficult fight to predict on this card. Jack Hermansson is a guy that has mauled many opponents. His wrestling is pretty strong. Edmen Shahbazyan on the flip side, this guy is quite young, but he has shown us his potential's high. You see that head kick against Tavares. You see the way this guy is striking in round one. He's a dangerous kid. Now it's clear to see if you can get outside of round one with Edmen, the fight turns, you know, the tables turn. Even in the debut against Darren Stewart, he was kind of lucky to get that win because you see how exhausted he got outside of round one. Now it happened again with Derek Brunson, but this time he wasn't lucky. He didn't make it out of that fight. And it basically showed us Edmen Shahbazyan is kind of round one or bust. Now he is young, so the improvements should be there. His gas tank should get a little bit better. He should start to deal with adversity a little bit better. But Jack Hermansson's no joke. If he makes it outside of round one with Edmen, you would kind of assume that he's going to drown Edmen Shahbazyan. But of course, if he doesn't make it out of round one, it's because this guy has pretty nasty striking and he's looking to put you down in that first round. I'm going to take Edmen Shahbazyan to finish this fight in round one. If he doesn't, get ready to potentially cash those Jack Hermansson bets. My numbers, I'm keeping them real close because like I said, I think both sides, it's likely. I'd put them minus 110 each. And we've got Jack Hermansson minus 150, minus 160, getting some respect. Edmen Shahbazyan, an underdog for the first time in his UFC career. So a lot of people saying, you know what, Edmen, I didn't like that fight against Brunson. You're going to have to prove something to me. So yeah, man, the pick on Jack Hermansson could be the right one. It could be the wrestling again. It could be the gas tank failing Edmen. But I think improvement's also likely. He's a young fighter. This is a great fight. I'm going to take Edmen. Alright, we've got David Dvorak taking on Julian Paiva. And we're going to start with David. So David Dvorak is 2-0 inside the UFC. I've taken him in both of his UFC fights. I believe he was an underdog in both of them. So it's fair to say he's doing good things. You know, he's arrived at the UFC, 2 wins, and his skill looks pretty okay. You know, his speed is quite noticeable. His fight IQ, also quite noticeable. Just seems to be making the right decisions. And the fights are playing out for him better than the opponent. Julian Paiva, 2 wins, 2 losses inside the UFC. He was able to finish Mark De La Rosa. And the fight against Zhalgas Ismagulov, I wouldn't say Julian dominated that fight, but yeah, he showed up. I'm going to stick with David Dvorak here. I like his speed. I like his IQ. I can't really see Julian putting David in too much trouble, whether that be grappling or power punches. I much prefer David Dvorak in this matchup. So that's going to be the prediction. My numbers, I'd put David around -180 and put Julian around +150. Now the actual numbers, we've got Dvorak -130 up to -150. And we've got Julian +110 up to +130. Yeah, kind of disagree. I was expecting Dvorak to be closer to -200. I just like his speed here. You know, the speed in David Dvorak's game should be enough, in my opinion. Felicia Spencer taking on Norma Dumont. So both of these girls are primarily grapplers. The black belt in Jiu-Jitsu is Felicia Spencer. I believe Norma Dumont is a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu. So if we're looking at who's the better grappler on paper, the answer is Felicia Spencer. If we're looking to make a pick based on MMA math, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work, the pick is going to be Felicia. Because Felicia's been in there with Cyborg, where Norma hasn't. She's been in there with Amanda Nunes. Norma hasn't. She has a win over Megan Anderson, where Norma got finished by Megan Anderson. So a lot of looking into this matchup, you kind of expect Felicia to win this one. However, if the fight doesn't hit the mat, Norma does have a Sanda background. Sanda is Chinese kickboxing. So despite the MMA math, I think Norma probably wins the striking. Like I said, Felicia has been in there with Cyborg. Norma isn't going to punch her the way Cyborg did. She's not going to punch her the way Amanda Nunes did. But still, if it stays on the feet, I would slightly favour Norma. If it goes to the mat, I'm favouring Felicia. Earlier this week I was on Felicia Spencer. But I kind of think, man, with women's MMA, there's more surprises than fights playing out the way you think they're going to happen. I just think Norma, if she stays on the feet, it's her fight to lose. So I'll take Norma Dumont. And of course, with the odds, you have to keep them close. I'd put Norma around -120, Felicia +110. Alright homies, we've got Justin Tafa taking on Jared Vanderaa. And we're going to start with Tafa. So Justin Tafa, if you don't know, this guy is basically trying to be what Mark Hunt was. He's looking to take your head clean off. He's looking to walk off. It's as simple as that. Now he did say leading up to this fight, I caught an interview a couple days ago. He has said that he wants to fight a little bit more technical, a little safer. But having said that, you know, this guy has a lot of power. And if you crack him 1 or 2 times, he may result back to his original ways. And his original ways is looking to take your head clean off. Jared Vanderaa, 0 wins, 1 loss inside the UFC. His UFC debut really didn't go too well. He was basically outclassed by Spivak. His Contender Series performance was a bit better. He basically showcased, I'm looking to take you down. Now that's exactly how you beat a guy like Justin Tafa, if you're Jared Vanderaa. You look at what Jorgen De Castro did, right? Now does Jared Vanderaa have that kind of ability? Not really, right? He's looking to grapple. So don't expect Justin Tafa to be knocked out in this fight. I really don't expect that. But as always, it's one or the other, and we've got to pick. For me, I feel way more comfortable taking Justin Tafa I really like the low kick that he used against Carlos. So that may be a weapon here. So I'll take Justin Tafa via TKO in round number 1. My odds, I'd put Justin around -160. Just because if he slows down and the takedown comes, now we've got a dicey fight. Co-main event, we've got Yan Xiaonan taking on Carla Esparza. I love this co-main event for both fighters. Arguably a number 1 contender spot to fight Rose Namajunas. So let's start with Yan. For those of you that don't know Yan, like I didn't a few years ago, this girl is really, really good. Her kickboxing is way up there. Inside calf kicks, body kicks, high kicks, you name it. Her kicking ability, in my opinion, is second to none. Then you look at her boxing, the speed of her 1-2s, the power. It's very noticeable. Now, a few years ago, I took Vivian Pereira to beat Yan Xiaonan. I had no clue who Yan Xiaonan was, but I was expecting Vivian's boxing to be the showcase of this fight. I couldn't have been any more wrong. I basically learned who Yan Xiaonan was on that night. She showed exactly what I'm speaking about, the kicking ability, the measuring of the opponent, the reading of the opponent, movement, you know, her kickboxing, I like it. I think it's special. As soon as she beat Vivian Pereira on that night, I know it's a little bit premature, but I did say it. I said Yan will potentially fight for a title one day, maybe be a title holder one day. And it's nice to see her getting this close. You know, like I said, this is arguably a number 1 contender spot. It's a big fight. We don't really need to speak too much about Carla Esparza. We know what this girl wants to do. She's a pure wrestler and a really good one too. She hasn't really evolved in the sport. What she was doing 5 years ago is what she's doing now. It's effective. If you can take down the opponent continuously and build up that top control, you can beat girls. And that's what Carla Esparza does. She's on a 4-fight winning streak. She did it to Alexa Grasso, Jandiroba, Marina Rodriguez. There wasn't much wrestling against Waterson, and that was quite a weird fight. Waterson kept distance, Carla kept distance. It was a weird one. But I love this co-main event because Yan is on a win streak, Carla is on a win streak. I think the winner deserves to fight for a title. Now, you have seen Angela Hill take down Yan. You've seen Claudia Gadelha take down Yan. But what you've also seen in these moments, if you look against Claudia, when she gets grappled against the fence, Yan is using nice knees to the midsection. When she gets taken down, she's using elbows off her back. Now, Marina Rodriguez was able to open up Carla with an elbow on the mat. I think Yan's going to do something similar, where it's top control versus damage. You're going to be getting to an end of the round thinking, well, Carla had some top control, she had some clinch time, but in that clinch time, there was a lot of damage from Yan, whether it's knees to the midsection or elbows off her back. Ultimately, I think the damage is going to score more in this fight than the top control. I could be wrong because Carla, she likes to prove people wrong. You know, she did it with Alexa, Marina. She likes to prove people wrong, but man, I'm a big believer of Yan Xiaonan, and I think she does pass this test. So I'm going to take Yan via decision. My numbers, I'd put Yan -170. And I know that's, to some people that may be surprising, but I spoke about it a couple weeks ago. It's always going to come down to how you personally scout someone. You know, how high you're going to regard Yan as opposed to Carla. That's what it comes down to here. And the actual numbers, we've got Yan coming in -120, -130. Carla coming back +100, +110. Like I said, man, Carla likes to prove people wrong. And that's why her line's getting tagged up here. Alright, homies, main event time. If you haven't Hamzat smashed the like button or Charlie Olive's comeback style on the like button, make sure you do that. This main event is a fire main event. we've got Cody Garbrandt taking on Rob Font. Super difficult prediction to make. So let's start with Rob Font. Rob Font is primarily a boxer. One of the best boxers in the UFC too. And that's not an understatement. This guy really does have brilliant boxing. You only have to go and look at his fights to see what he's done. The way he finished Thomas Almeida. He ragdolled Sergio Pettis. Outclassed Ricky Simone. Completely obliterated Marlon Moraes. Rob Font has really been on a nice winning streak. Now you look at the fight against Rafael Assunção. Rob Font looked okay for about 2 minutes. If you look at the first 2 minutes of that fight, it looks like Rob Font's just going to run away with it. But Assunção, being the veteran that he is, he dropped Rob Font at one point, landed a number of calf kicks, even secured a takedown at one point. So Rob Font isn't a perfect fighter. But if you look at what he's done, I mentioned Sergio Pettis, Ricky Simone and Marlon Moraes. He deserves a main event spot. The opponent, Cody Garbrandt, former champion of 135. Now a lot of people speak about Cody's chin. They say he has no chin. He's overrated. And I'm not saying that Cody has a great chin, right? Because it has been cracked. But instead of, just looking at this main event and saying, well, Cody Garbrandt doesn't have a chin. Rob Font has a better chin. He has better boxing. Let's pick Rob Font. Instead of just doing that, let's look a little bit deeper into why Cody Garbrandt suffered those losses, right? TJ Dillashaw, he lost this fight 2 times. Now, we can speak about steroids for TJ. But steroids alone aren't going to win you the fight. They are going to make you better than you currently are. But steroids alone, they're not going to make you win. TJ Dillashaw has really unorthodox striking. He can switch stances. He shows you a lot of weapons. If you're fighting TJ Dillashaw, there's a lot to prepare for. There's a lot to look at. Now, I took Pedro Munoz to beat Cody. A lot of people were shocked with this one. And maybe Cody was shocked with this one too. Maybe didn't expect Pedro to be so game to kickbox. But if you look at it, Pedro landed multiple calf kicks. He set that knockout up with calf kicks. There was no way he was going to do that without compromising the movement of Cody Garbrandt. A lot of people say Cody doesn't have good IQ. He chose to rush in and he left himself exposed. But if you look at what actually happened was Cody's leg got badly beaten up and he was put in a position where either you keep getting kicked and you lose, or you've got to go for it because your leg is just done. And he had to go for it and it didn't work out. So instead of just saying, Cody Garbrandt gets knocked out, he's got no chin, let's look at why it's happening. TJ Dillashaw, super unorthodox, shows you a lot of weapons. Pedro Munoz set it up with low kicks. What is Rob Font going to do to set up the knockout with Cody Garbrandt? Because we saw Cody against Assunção. The speed of him is so noticeable. Joe Rogan mentioned it a couple of times. John Anik, even when that knockout happened, he said, speed kills, which is notoriously known in the boxing ring. Speed it's a killer when it comes to boxing. And Cody Garbrandt has a lot of speed. So I think Rob Font, to get this knockout, I think he has to set it up with something. The jab may not be enough to set it up. Having said that, 25 minutes is a long time. It's a long time to not get your chin cracked at some point. If this was 3 rounds, I'd be way more confident that Cody's going to win. 5 rounds, it's a long time. But I am still going to side with Cody. I think his speed is better than Rob Font. And like I mentioned, TJ Dillashaw showed him a lot of weapons to set that up. Pedro Munoz landed the low kick to set that up. Rob Font needs more than a jab, in my opinion. So I'm going to side with Cody. I'm going to take Cody to win this matchup 25 minutes is a long time though, man. It's going to be a great main event. My numbers, I'm keeping them real close. I'll put Cody minus 130, Rob Font plus 100. And the actual numbers, both of these guys are minus 110. It makes complete sense. I think Rob Font needs more weapons to find that knockout. But the extra 10 minutes alone, that may be enough. You know, 25 minutes is a long time for Rob Font to find that special shot. But Cody's quick, man. This is a great main event, guys. Alright, homies, I hope you've enjoyed the breakdown. As always, drop down who you're taking in this main event, your underdogs, all of that good stuff. Leave it in the comment section below. Alright, guys, enjoy the fights. Until next time, peace.